Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. Thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Grace Preuss, a member of the worship committee, and I will be your worship associate today. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind, an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over. So while we are here, please keep your masks on and socially distance. We can speak in normal tones, but singing or chanting creates an increased risk of airborne exposure. So we ask you to refrain for the time being. We invite those of you in the sanctuary to sit back and enjoy listening to our hymns. For those of you at home, sing your hearts out. And now I invite you to sit back and take a slow, deep breath as we move into the worship hour. For our call to worship, you are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Today, we'd like to welcome our speaker, Hannah Swartzel Rausch. Hannah Swartzel Rausch is a Riverside native and current student at RCC studying art and art history. She has two toddlers that we all know, ages 1.5 years and 2 years. And in her free time, she enjoys watching Star Trek, reading, and participating in natural and animal conservation efforts. In what ways does the culture of positivity or toxic positivity contribute to our emotional regulation? Is anger a big, bad feeling, or is there more to the emotional spectrum than catchy posters would have us believe? We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred space of several groups of Indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading of the chalice lighting is A Communion of Heart and Soul by Bruce Southworth. For the gift of this day, and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul. Thank you, Bill. Our opening hymn this morning is When I Am Frightened. For those in the sanctuary, please sit back and enjoy the hymn, but please do not sing along.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
We have a tradition here at UUR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps are returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others, and so I will now ask a volunteer from someone who has been here for a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. Please come up to the mic at the pulpit and speak into it directly and clearly so that everyone can hear. Do we have a volunteer? Anyone? No? Bill?
There are more familiar people here than not, so but you've heard the story. When you're looking around and figuring out your new spiritual home, there's a tendency to kind of not only are you looking for something, but you're looking to for someone, the ingredients that you don't want into the new mix of who you are. When I decided that Christianity was no longer working for me, I went pagan. And much to my delight, there was a drum circle here by Linda Voorhees, and had a wonderful time. Relit several old fires that were within me. It was a good time. But it wasn't until after the whole drum circle was over that it sort of hit me that I was doing a drum circle within a Gothic church, or at least Gothic designed. And it suddenly struck me that not only was I had I spent the evening reaffirming my new spiritual home as a pagan, but also that there are people out there that can look at you and say, pagan, atheist, agnostic, just don't leave the lights on when you come out of here. And at that point, I realized that there are people who don't need a spiritual clone in order to care for you. And people like that in your life, you want to keep them very close and not forget who they are, where they are, and how they got to you. And I've been coming along ever since. And they call it a spiritual practice because I don't think I've got it right yet.
Thank you, Bill. And that's how it's done. If you are new here, a visitor or an old friend, please raise your hand and come up to the mic so that we will know who you are, where you are from, and how you found out about us. Is there anyone out there who would like to introduce themselves? Oh. Iris.
Hi, like this. Hi, my name is Iris, and I'm a longtime UU admirer, I suppose. I've been coming here since I was very small, and I've always admired the congregation and the church itself. I've recently been in Colorado studying eco-living and sustainability, and I've always thought of you guys fondly, and I've started really looking for my spiritual home. And as an eclectic, pagan, spiritual, whatever I am, this place calls out to me. And so I feel like this is a homecoming, and I'm very happy to be here with old friends and hopefully new friends. So thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Iris. Is there anyone online who'd like to introduce themselves? Okay, so we have a new visitor on the chat online. Her name is Morgan. My name is Morgan. I saw your building while walking in downtown Riverside. I have never attended before. However, my friend a couple of decades ago who mentioned finding a community in a Unitarian church as an atheist. So, My friend mentioned finding a community in a Unitarian church as an atheist. I do not subscribe to any particular religion. So, welcome, Morgan. We also don't subscribe to any particular religion, we think. Okay. Okay. All right, so thank everyone for that. For new guests, our visitor book is in the parish hall. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you were here, and your contact information if you would like to know about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. There are a few announcements we would like to share. During the service, we will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all this information, and it is available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every other month by email and per request by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy that you would like to contribute, please email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. Let me see. The first Sunday luncheon will be held in the parish hall after today's service. Join us this month for sandwiches and some casual socializing. Donations are welcome as you are willing and able. After the luncheon, we will be holding our congregational meeting in the sanctuary. Let's see. I'm sorry, the slides on the tablet have not been synced, so I'm gonna read this off. All right. We're having the concern, do you use of Riverside today? We are not. Okay, we're not because of the congregational meeting. Okay, and another announcement that I'd like to share is we just had our fall yard sale this weekend, and apparently it went over pretty well. Yes, and I'd like to thank all the organizers and people who helped with that. Thank you very much. Our next hymn is Spirit of Life. Joys and concerns. It is said that shared joy is a double joy, and shared sorrow is half sorrow. On the first Sunday of each month, we share the joys and concerns that we have received from you and which we have collected throughout the month. First, I'm going to read the joys and concerns which were given to us. There's none today. Okay. So if there's anyone here in the sanctuary who would like to speak their joy or concern, please raise your hand and come up and speak into the mic at the pulpit.
A simple joy, at least. I just wanted to participate in the shrinking of the universe. A simple joy from my neighborhood. We have had a Celtic interlace of 3 idiots that I have to put up with as a security guard. One of them was menacing people with a firearm the other day. I heard him going off in his meth-addled state, and suddenly the desire to stay in bed was very, very strong. I did so. I heard shortly afterwards he had finally gone deep enough to where he had menaced somebody else with a firearm, possibly pulling the trigger. Thank God the firing pin was not good, because it was an illicit firearm. And he is currently in a place of some restriction far from me. So that's one less idiot I got to deal with. And it may be a personal happiness that does not extend outwards, but if all sorrow is shared or halved, there's a piece of it right there. A second idiot I've got seems to have an incredible amount of ability to dodge cops. And the third one isn't being active. I think 2/3 of the idiots removed from your immediate interaction, and here's hoping that they become less like idiots as time goes by. I think 2/3 reduction in the standard amount of idiots around you is a cause for celebration. If not yours, certainly for mine.
Anyone else who'd like to speak of their joy or concern? No? Okay. So we place a stone in our water chalice to represent the joys and concerns we have shared with our church community, and in recognition of those we hold close and have not shared.
Smooth for the good things, rough for the bad things. Slightly mixed, because guess what? So is life.
Thank you, Bill. You're so good at that. May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. This segment is called Sharing Our Stewardship, and we will speak about sharing our treasure. The first announcement, which I didn't say in the beginning, is today is the final day of our silent auction. All of the items for bid will be on display, and the lucky winners may pay for them and take them home. Thank you all for your participation. And thank you, Dinah and Kate, for taking care of that. This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is on the church website and also in the newsletter. Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage. Amazon cards are also available. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection?
This is probably not the time to be saying this. I should have been speaking earlier, but I want to thank all of the people, a lot of people who helped with our yard sale and our silent auction and our the Oktoberfest dinner, which worked in conjunction with the silent auction. I want to thank everybody. So many people helped with this. I'm not going to name names because I might leave somebody out, but you know who you are and you're so appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next hymn is From You I Receive. Please sit back quietly and enjoy.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share from this we live. From you I receive.
Our meditation today is Do Not Fear Agitation by Tanya Marquez. Do not fear agitation, for agitation is the rhythm of life itself. To be put into motion, to be stirred. Do not fear the movements that decenter what you always thought permanent. You carry within the center of your understanding the compass to show you the way. Carry with you the love that will hold you, the vision that will guide you, the relationships to all beings in the world that will ground you. Go in peace and in gentle agitation to stir this world to the side of love. Now let us pause for a moment of silence. Now I would like to introduce Hannah Swartzel Rausch, speaking to us on angry, irritated, mad, big feelings or bad feelings. Hannah?
Good morning. Is this at a good place? Am I good here? Okay, I didn't do a mic check beforehand and I just realized. Turned it off too. See, great. Off to a wonderful start. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, good morning. I have a joy I want to share, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to come up. So let me tell you now, I'm so happy we're having sandwiches. I love sandwiches. Great, awesome. Okay, how y'all doing? Good? You really doing good, or are you just saying you're doing good? Both is very true. I think sometimes we say doing great, doing wonderful, doing fine, doing just fine, and we do not mean it at all, but that's what we're supposed to say, so we say it. There is definitely this pervasive cultural message of toxic positivity, which I'm sure you've all heard the term of at one point or another. It's definitely a buzzword in the news presently. But I think it refers to this message that we can only be happy, no bad vibes. We're not allowed to feel sad things. Don't bring your sadness up in my space. No, First of all, rude. Second of all, my hair is falling out. But second of all, give me one moment. Second of all, I think that does a disservice to the breadth and depth of human emotions that we all feel. Yes, we do say, hello, how you doing, as our way of saying hello. But I think that there's more to that than really what meets the eye. In fact, there was an article that came out 3 days ago in the Wall Street Journal about toxic positivity. And I wanted to quote from that for you, but I can't because it was behind a paywall. So I did find a different article from Medical News Today that states, I'm just going to read it straight for you. Toxic positivity is an obsession with positive thinking. It is the belief that people should put on a positive spin on all experiences, even those that are profoundly tragic. Toxic positivity can silence negative emotions, demean grief, and make people feel under pressure to pretend to be happy, even when they are struggling. I think we can all kind of feel that, but there are some examples here that I'd like to share. Examples are asserting after catastrophe that everything happens for a reason, urging someone to focus on the positive aspects of a devastating loss, telling someone to get over their grief or suffering or focus on the good things in their life, labeling people who always appear positive or do not share their emotions as being stronger or more likable than others. And I like this one quite a bit. Urging people to thrive no matter what adversity they face, such as by telling people that they must use enforced time at home during the COVID-19 pandemic to develop new skills or improve their fitness. I have heard so much. I have heard so much of that, and I definitely did not use my initial lockdown time like that because I had a sick newborn and a toddler, so that was a struggle, and I can say that now going through it and coming out on the other side, but at the time, very, very rough. So these examples here make me a little angry. Hopefully they make you a little angry too, but it definitely does not fill me with good, happy feelings. I think that anger also has some real sincere benefits as well. Anger is, first let's start with a little more definitions. Anger is a secondary emotion, so it is in response to a primary emotion. So we feel anger after we feel a sadness, or we feel anger after we feel a shame. We feel anger after we feel another emotion. Anger doesn't exist without a primary emotion underneath. Even if you don't feel it initially, even if it's a very fleeting emotion, anger is still a secondary emotion that comes after something else. So I think that there are some benefits to anger, and I'm going to share 3 specific ones with you. And if you have any other benefits you think of or disagree with any of mine, I would really like to hear that after the fact. Okay. So first of all, I think anger alerts us to injustices in the world. As you use, we definitely practice what we believe in and we practice what we feel. And listening to that anger shows us where we should spend our time and our money and our energy. An example of that is in the previous federal administration, there was this policy of whatever you're thinking of that you're still upset about, that's what it is for you. For me, the one that still upsets me was this policy about being allowed to hunt hibernating black bears. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, that's like supervillain cartoonishly levels of evil. But we all have that one thing that we can remember, and we're just like, I cannot believe that. That just makes me so angry. I have to do something about that. And I think it's really important to listen to that part of us that tells us to do things about it. So secondary, I think that anger can give us a real sense of ego strength. So we can use our anger after we are in a situation where we feel powerless. We use this note of anger that we now feel as a marker of our growth from that time. There's this toxic positivity message of after you leave a very bad job or you're out of a not so great relationship, there's this message of, oh, well, you have to forgive them for your sake. And first of all, no, I don't. But I worked hard for my anger. I spent time forgiving people who didn't deserve it. So yeah, I'm gonna be angry now. My mom was talking to me about my car. My kids scratched my car, and my mom was telling me the story about the time my dad scratched her car. It was brand new. She'd had it off the lot less than a month, and it got scratched. And she was like, I was so angry at him. I told him he could never drive my car again. It's been 30 years and then some change. So that did happen, but it cracked me up. And I realized, you know, I've never been in a relationship where I've been allowed to be angry. Like, that just didn't happen in any of my past relationships. It was whatever happened, I had to be okay with it. Like, whatever the other partner's decisions was something that I had to be fine with, and I was just fine. It was okay. It was all okay at the end of the day. And you know what? Now I can say, hey, that really wasn't okay. X situation was super not okay. And I'm really mad that I ever had that happen around me or to me or with me. And I think that that shows a really large amount of growth on my part from the time that I was in that relationship to this time now, where I can say, hey, I'm not okay with the way you treated me. I can say that now about jobs that I used to have. I can say, hey, I really should have been paid more and paid at all in some cases. And I can say, hey, I really don't like the way you treated me in that relationship, to this imaginary person who I thankfully do not talk to. But just that ability to feel angry for my past self really notes a change, and that's a benefit of anger. So I don't think that anger is all the big, bad, scary wolf that it's cracked up to be in that case. And thirdly, I think anger gives us optimism. That's a weird statement. Anger gives us optimism. Well, I talked about it a little bit earlier, how whatever policy that you remember that upsets you personally, you really want to do something to change that. Have you ever been so angry you'll write a letter? I've been so angry, I'll write a letter. I'm going to write a letter to the city of Newport Beach about their terrible parking. Now, I didn't actually write a letter, and this was 7 years ago, but still, I remember being angry about the bad parking in Newport Beach. And now I'm sincerely pressed to find better ways to plan our cities and vote for those policies as well. And I think that that idea, that little bit of like, I'm going to change the world, is really important. I think it's important to have those feelings and those ideas of, this makes me really upset and I'm going to do something about it. Because without that, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be making the change and the positive effects that we do see in the world, which I think is what toxic positivity is, you know, trying to get to in the first place, but they're definitely taking the wrong route to get there. I would like to end, I'm ending a little early because I do want to talk about this also, and I hope you guys have opinions on this as well. So I'd like to end with a quote from this book behind me, which is Fun is a Feeling. It was my favorite, it's one of my favorites as a kid, but I read it to my daughters now. So I'm just gonna read a little bit of it here. So this is Fun is a Feeling by Chara M. Curtis, and it does have some beautiful illustrations in it. I once met a man who had so much fun. I just had to ask him how it was done. He juggled my question for a moment or two, then he laughed. Fun or not, it's all up to you. Fun isn't something or somewhere or who. It's a feeling of joy that lives inside you. You can feel happy, you can feel sad. Joy comes from knowing no feeling is bad. Treasure your feelings and treat them with care. Pay close attention to the wisdom they share. This is the way to become your best friend, and then you can have fun without end. There's more to the book, but I'm gonna stop there, and I'd like to ask you once again, how you doing? You're good? You're for reals doing good? Good, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Does anyone have thoughts on this? I'd really like to spend more time questions and answers and talking. Yes.
I don't.
It's very warm up here, sorry.
It would completely change the sketch into the poem. I don't believe in anything at 100%, including fun. There's dishes in the sink, there's laundry to do, and somehow all of the conditions, since it's my sink and my dishes and my hands, and I have ownership of it, that that fun is going to have to be a little bit moderated. I can put on some really good music while I'm washing the dishes, but they're my dishes. I'm putting out the money for the soap. I'll have a better, I don't think anything works at 1,000, at 100%, but I would love to see the numbers jump up a little bit.
For sure. There's actually another quote in this book that really relates to that. And I'm going to hand it to you to take a peek at because it just cracks me up. This is also one of my favorite like children's books as far as kids' books go. But I do think that there should be a range. Like you're probably never going to receive 100% on the happies or 100% on the any other feelings. But I think we should work on having the more moderate, the goods outweighing the bads and the happies outweighing the sads or the angries, for
This
sure.
would work, and I have a friend that I'm worried about that this would work more for. Do you want me to read it?
Would you like, yeah, go for it.
When you have chores. Okay, book. When you have chores and fun seems to run out, vacuum the hole with an elephant's snout. Call on the elves to come lend a hand and sweep up the stardust in your fairyland. That tends to work. I just hope we're not fighting the battle of the elves in the eastern because that's a lot of elephants now.
That's a lot of elephants now, absolutely. And I don't know if I can show it like on screen. There's this illustration here of the child vacuuming. The child vacuuming with the elephant snout, and it's just really cute. Yeah. Fun fact: the author of this book was also a UU. So, interesting thing to note. Any other statements, questions, opinions? Yes.
So it was interesting when you said, when people ask us, how are you? We automatically want to say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, right? Without even really thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering where that comes from. Is that like because we don't want to bother people if we're not feeling good? Are we still working through negative emotions that we don't know what to say about? And I'm fine is like a default answer, and people will leave you alone after you say that, right?
For sure. I think I can speak from my own experience as a young woman. I quite often feel like my feelings are a burden to those around me. So for a long time, I gave a default answer of doing great, doing just fine. Partially also, I worked in retail, so nobody really wanted to know. They just wanted to know which aisle the drain plugs were on. So that was definitely an introduction to that default answer. But I think that sometimes it's just what you say. Like it's just what you say to like acknowledge that the other person is a person there. You don't necessarily say, oh, how you doing? Because you want to know. You say, how you doing? Good, how you doing? Good, all right. Yeah, which aisle are the drain plugs on? Oh, on C17, you're gonna go down here and turn left. I did work at a Target, if you could tell. But yeah, I think that there's a couple of layers to that, especially as a young woman. Like I do feel like quite often, whether or not this is true, but people don't want to hear about it. Like it's just too much. It's a burden for me to like take up space. It's a burden for me to unload all my feelings on you. Even when somebody sincerely asks, it does take a couple of questions for me to get to like, well, actually I had a really rough night and I'm very tired. But yeah, I think there's a couple of layers to it for a lot of people. Any other questions? Q&A?
Also, there's a more serious response to it in the sense that if you're addressing somebody who has actually delivered some sort of a serious wound to you, for example, if you were addressing not just anyone, but the people in charge of that black bear hunting thing, you would like to sit there, you hope you're going to land a more telling shot if you're sort of nice about it. But what you'd like to do would be to say, Mr. Phelps, what in the world were you thinking of when you decided it was okay to shoot a sleeping animal? When has this ever been cool, a part of even the code of the hunt? Yet, if you start off that way, you don't get to build in and be the use sweet reason on them. You're leading with your anger right off the back, and you're, okay, check mark, one of those, move along. But anger, a lot of the time, when you call it to cause right off the bat, it puts them on the spot, and they don't want to have to deal with your anger, especially if they know that they're messing up.
That's really interesting. I think that's similar to what you said earlier as well, where it's not 100%. Your anger has to be tempered with a little bit of kindness. Your anger has to be tempered with some gentleness to really get through to people. If you just come on with full angry, then you might not get through as much. It's got to be a ratio percentage. Did you want to say? Yeah, please.
How do you feel if you're just in a situation and you're trying to mind your own business, but yet in the background, there's people that are arguing and carrying on. You ask them one single question, and then they're very rude to you. And let's say it's a place that you visit or go to, you feel very not welcome, and you don't understand what you did to make people, even somebody that you've known for a while, and you don't even understand. It happened to me, and I felt so bad because I kept blaming myself. Well, what did I do? And they never explained to me nothing. So, but I don't know, I find that hard to deal with sometimes.
For sure. That is really rough when you're the victim of somebody else's anger and bad feelings, especially undeservedly, like in that situation. That is really tough. I'm sorry.
So how do we try to deal with, do you have any suggestions? Other than like you said about writing a letter?
I think that in my opinion,
Because it bothered me.
that would be very bothersome. It would bother me if it
Because I
happened to
asked myself,
me.
well, what did I do?
I think I would come back at a different time and lead with vulnerability.
Vulnerability?
I would lead with what you said really hurt me. And I know that it was a different time.
So I should confront them.
I don't know if confront is
I'm
the right
letting it
word.
go for as of right now, but and I've actually got over it somewhat, but at the time it was very hurtful and disturbing because I really wasn't trying to do anything, and they had a lot of anger.
They had a lot of anger, but that's not,
I guess if
yeah.
that's what you want to call it.
I don't know what it was in your case specifically, but it does sound really frustrating for you from your perspective, 100%.
Because I blame myself a lot because I kept saying, what did I do?
I think telling them that, I think that saying like, I feel really responsible for your feelings when you acted this way. I think some of those statements that a lot of relationship counselor people say to use, which is like, I feel X when you do Y, or I feel, oh, I'll grab that.
So what you're saying is I have to think about whether having a confrontation or not, or just like you said about the writing, right?
I think that if it's worth it to have a conversation, you should, but if it's not worth it and you want to let it go, you totally can. It's your decision. I hope it works out, whatever it is. I really hope it works out and you feel better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Morgan, and I have so much anger. So when I saw that you were talking about anger today, I was like, oh, I have to do this one. I am a high school teacher, and I love education, and I love learning, and I'm